No one crashes.
One question, Joe, do you want to make Mina Sheedy sit all night, or do you want to put
No,
her
I'll
first?
deal with the stuff up front.
Okay,
There's a few things that aren't gonna happen, so.
Joe, do you want me to do the second? Do you want me second while Adria?
Yes, yeah, that would be great.
Well, okay, yep, perfect.
All righty. Let's see. Yep, we have 20 participants. Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the June 10th, 2021 remote public meeting of the City of Gloucester Zoning Board of Appeals. Consistent with the governor's order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law and banning gatherings of more than 10 people, this meeting will be conducted by remote participation to the greatest extent possible. For the record, this is Zoom meeting ID 891-4205-9634. I recognize in attendance myself, Joe Parisi, members Peter Canavo, Adria Pratt, and James Gelati. There are four of us, therefore I declare we have a quorum. A couple of things I want to clarify with the people that are out there. As you may know, our meeting on May 27th was not able to be held. Those hearings are not being heard tonight. Those were moved to the June 17th hearing. So if anyone is on for those cases, you're a week too early. That included 68 High Popples Road, 222 Main Street, 22 Riverside Ave, and 9 Haskell Court. Those four cases are going to be heard next week on June 17th. Now tonight we have some hearings that I want to clear up, but before I tell everybody that, let's go to the approval of the minutes. We have a motion to approve the minutes of 4:15, 4:29, and 5:13.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of 4:15, 4:29, and 5:19,
13.
5:13. Excuse me.
Second that.
Motion made and seconded. Roll call vote on the minutes.
Mr. Gelati,
Yes.
Ms. Pratt,
Yes.
Mr. Canavo,
Yes,
Mr. Parisi.
Yes. Minutes are approved. Now tonight, we had previously had 5 hearings scheduled, and there's going to be some changes. The petition of One Babson Court Realty Trust, for anyone on and interested in that, we do not have a quorum to hear that case tonight. So that's going to be pushed to next week, June 17th. I'll need a motion to do that. What it is we have to have at least 4 members. And in this case, we have some members recused because of conflict of interest. So we're going to move that. I'll entertain a motion to move that hearing to June 17th.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to continue the application for One Babson Court Realty Trust to June 17th.
second.
Motion made and seconded. Roll call.
Ms. Pratt,
Yes.
Mr. Canavo,
Yes,
Mr. Gelati,
Yes.
Mr. Parisi.
Yes. So that petition is moved. On the next order of business, we have received a request by Attorney Bavaza with regard to 8 Angle Street to withdraw without prejudice, so that it can be reapplied probably in a different manner. I don't know, is Joel with us or, yeah,
He's in the audience.
you want to bring him in and he can just ask for that?
Good evening.
Evening.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, we're not hearing
Can
you.
everyone hear me?
I think now we can.
Okay, sorry, I pulled in as a panelist. Thank you. For the record, Joel Favaza, Seaside Legal Solutions, 123 Main Street. The application that was before you was pertaining only to some back decks that were being proposed for 8 Angle Street. However, there's going to be likely a change of use and a few other pieces of relief that you'll need. I just thought it was cleanest to have the application withdrawn and a fresh application submitted rather than trying to get in under an amendment at a future meeting, if that's all right with the board.
Thank you. We'll need a motion to that to withdraw without prejudice, 8 Angle Street.
Mr. Chairman, I would make the motion to withdraw the application for 8 Angle Street without prejudice.
Second,
Motion made and seconded. Roll call.
Mr. Carvo,
yes.
Mr. Gelati,
Yes.
Ms. Pratt,
Yes.
and Mr. Parisi.
That is withdrawn. The other hearing that we need, asked for a continuance or movement is with regard to 18 Trash Street. Is Attorney Judd with us?
Sheedy,
I'm sorry, yeah, we went to school together. Attorney Sheedy with us?
I don't see her.
Okay, she had submitted a request that 18 Trash Street be continued to correct some of the application, I believe. So we're looking to continue that to June 24th, which will be 2 weeks from tonight. If we could have a motion to that effect.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to continue the application for 18 Trask Street to the hearing on June 24th.
Second that,
Motion made and seconded. Roll call.
Ms. Pratt,
Yes.
Mr. Carvo,
yes.
Mr. Gelati,
Yes.
Mr. Parisi.
Yes. Okay, so we've cleaned up the agenda pretty much. We're only going to hear 2 cases tonight for the audience. Those are going to be 16 Fort Square and 4 Bayfield Road. So those will be our 2 cases tonight, and we'll begin with the petition of Joban Properties LLC, seeking a special permit under 1.9 and a special permit 2.4.3 to allow renovation of existing 2-family home, a non-conforming structure on a conforming lot at 16 Fort Square, map 1, lot 56. And they're represented by Attorney Ellison, I believe. We could bring her in.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Proceed.
For the record, Deborah Ellison, Ellison Law Office, 63 Middle Street, Gloucester. The applicant, as you stated, is Joban Properties, Inc., LLC. And Jarvid Cortez, Katrina Sanders, and Kent Branton are the principals of the LLC, and I believe that they are on the line tonight. The architect is SB Design, and I believe Katie Finkenzeller is also on the call if there are any questions. The applicant is seeking a special permit under GZO 1.9 and 2.4.3 for the alteration or expansion of a non-conforming structure on a conforming lot. And if I could share my screen, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, please.
So this is a picture of the property as it exists. Joban is seeking to renovate an existing 2-family with minor updates to the footprint. It will be removing and replacing this deck with a more conforming deck, and also extending the 3rd floor slightly, and that would be an extension of the roof line, an increase in the roof line height. They will also be adding 2 off-street parking spaces in the front of the property to add to the 2 tandem parking spaces that already exist. So this is a driveway with 2 tandem parking, and there'll be additional ones here. Mr. Branton, who is one of the principals, will reside in one of the units, and they intend to rent the remaining unit. The property is in the marine industrial zone, and that does not permit 2-family homes as of right. This home is a pre-existing non-conforming use and structure. Under GZO section 3.2.1 in the MI district for residential uses, you look to the nearest residential district for the dimensional requirements, and that's the R5 district. The lot conforms to lot area. The requirement is 5,000 square feet. This lot has 6,369 square feet. It has the required lot width, the required frontage. It also complies with the front yard currently and with the left yard setback currently. The front yard will become even more compliant when the new deck is built. It is currently 14 feet 7 inches from the property line. It will now be 19 feet 8 inches from the property line. The right side yard is currently non-compliant, and that will not change. The rear yard is also non-compliant, and that will not change either. Lot coverage is presently 29%, and that will lessen to 28.2%, which is well under the 35% maximum that's allowed in this district. The current height is above the average grade, is 31 feet 6 inches, and it will slightly increase to 32 feet 6 inches. The special permit for the expansion or alteration of a non-conforming structure should be granted because the improvements are not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood than the existing non-conforming home. It's more compliant than the existing building with regard to the front yard setback, and none of the other pre-existing non-conformities other than height will change. The height is already non-conforming, as I said, by 1 foot 6 inches, and that'll be increased by approximately 1 foot. The additional height is needed to extend the upper floor, and I will show you that. This is the expansion of the 3rd floor, and you can see the roof extends up. So as you extend the roof in line with the current line of the roof, you add an extra foot. And this additional space is needed to add some living space to that 3rd floor. This project will bring much needed updates and improvements to an older structure. It provides for safer ingress and egress with the new stairs and the new deck. And the 2 additional off-street parking spaces will be an amenity in this neighborhood. And for all of these reasons, I would suggest that the project is not more detrimental to the neighborhood than the pre-existing conforming structure. And I'd ask the board to approve the special permit. Happy to answer any questions.
So I guess just to clarify for everyone, so the increase in height is going to be taken care of under the special permit?
Yes. Much like the, under the Dedrick case, in situations where a dimension is currently non-conforming, then you do not need any permit other than the alteration to a alteration or extension. So if this were over 35 feet, then in that instance, it would become a new nonconformity and would probably need a special permit for height. But because it is under the 35 feet and it's currently nonconforming at that height, it is not a new nonconformity. It's an expansion of one that already exists.
Okay, so this is the first time, so we've had plenty of Dedrick issues that we understand quite well on the plot plan and nonconformities on side yard setbacks and whatnot. We understand that pretty good. This is our first one since that case that is talking about the height. So, Bill, I'd like to ask just an opinion on that.
Yeah, I agree with Attorney Ellison on this. We talked about it briefly earlier today, and it is similar. Even though it's height and we have a special permit for height exceptions, in this case, it's still altering the non-conforming structure because the height already is a non-conformity and they haven't taken it to the next level. So even though it's vertical, it's the same as being horizontal on the dimension. So I agree, she's correct in her interpretation on this.
Right. But to be clear with the board, you do have the right to consider that of whether it would be substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood. So just so everyone, since it's the first one, I just want to make sure everybody understood that. So, great.
And
Okay, any
just to
other questions?
clarify, Joe, on that, that's a good point, because that's a good way to describe it. If it was a special permit, they would be looking at, does it increase the they'd be looking at differently for a height exception. This one they are looking at, does it increase the nonconformity? And is it a detriment? The two-prong test.
Okay, any questions by the board at this point about this one? Okay, we'll go to public testimony. Anyone in the audience that wishes to speak in favor of the application, please raise your hand. You do that on your computer, the raise hand button, or if you're working on your cell phone, which I see some people are, you dial *9 to raise your hand on your cell phone. Anyone wishing to speak in favor? I see none. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the project, please raise your hand. Anyone in opposition? I see none. There'll be no need for rebuttal. Any further discussion by the board? Or are we ready for a motion?
I'm ready.
Yeah.
I
I'm
Seems
good.
could,
straightforward.
One question, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
They're showing work for a new retaining wall. Do we know how high that wall is going to be?
I think I would have to ask the architect that. Could you bring in Katie Finkensteller?
Yeah, I don't see it anywhere on the drawing.
Hello, can I be heard?
Yes, please.
Hi, I am trying to very quickly open my drawings. That was not
You could give us your
Okay.
name and address for the record first. That'd be great.
certainly. This is Katie Fingenzeller. I'm an architect at SB Design, and our business is located at 126 Dodge Street in Beverly.
Thank you.
All I'm looking for is to know whether that wall exceeds 6 feet in the setback or not.
If it exceeds 6 feet in its height,
Yes.
give me 2 seconds. It does not.
Okay. I just
Yep.
I just wanted to cover that base of while we're here, and if it needed relief, to get that concluded. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Certainly.
Okay, so it doesn't exceed 6, and we obviously, I think the applicant's in agreement as an increase in nonconformity. Therefore, we'll move to a motion by Adria.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, in the matter of the petition of Joban Properties LLC seeking a special permit under Gloucester zoning ordinance 1.9 and 2.43 to allow the renovation of an existing two-family home, a non-conforming structure on a non-conforming lot at 16 Fort Square.
It's a conforming lot, correct?
Yes, sorry, non-conforming structure on a conforming lot, my apologies. So first, the question that we have to ask is whether the proposed work constitutes an increase in the nonconformity. I do believe that it does increase the nonconformity. However, the second prong of that would be whether the proposed work is substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood than what is currently there. And I would make the motion that it is not. And I would vote in favor of this application.
We have a motion to
Second.
approve the special permit, seconded by Peter Canavo. And we'll have a roll call vote.
Mr. Gelati,
Yes.
Ms. Pratt,
Yes.
Mr. Canavo,
Yes.
and Mr. Parisi.
Yes, I would agree that it is an increase in nonconformity. However, it is not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood with the minimal amount of work they're doing. And I vote yes in favor. You've heard our decision. We'd appreciate a draft. Possible sent in, that would help us.
Absolutely, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Mr. Chairman, with your permission, I'll stamp and sign the board plans.
Yes, please.
Thank you.
We'll move on to our second and last hearing of the night. This is the petition of Randall Warren seeking a variance for front yard, side yard, distance between buildings, definition of accessory structure use to allow construction of a new detached storage barn, 24 foot by 42 feet at 4 Bayfield Road. Mr. Warren here representing himself.
I'm here, sir.
All righty, name and address for the record and make your
Surely.
presentation.
My name is Randy Warren. I live at 4 Bayfield Road over here in Lanesville. I own number 4 Bayfield and number 2 Bayfield.
Okay, go ahead.
So I'm looking to have I believe, a special permit because as I understand it, under your parts F and G, I need a special permit to build an accessory building on a pre-existing non-conforming lot, which is number 2 Bayfield Road. I'm also looking for some variances to the side and rear setbacks to allow the construction of a 24 by 42 foot barn on this lot. I set forth a lot of the details in my application, which is probably too much information because it was more for the building inspector, their questions. So I'm looking to really trying to focus on those requirements that the board is seeking, which would be really the setback from the front yard is, I believe, is supposed to be 30 feet, and I'm at just currently at 28.5 feet. So that's in the front yard, and in the back of the building towards the rear boundary, I need some variance relief to invade that area by anywhere from 4.5 to 5 feet, depending on what the board considers this district to be. I think it's under 9 feet, but it could be as little as 4.5 feet. I don't think there's any lot coverage issue because it's 17% if I were to get the barn built, which is under your 30% maximum. The height is at 22 feet, which is, I believe, under your 30-foot maximum. And then beyond the reasons I've already submitted, which are much more informal, I don't think there's any detrimental problem to my neighborhood. In fact, several of my neighbors have been kind enough to submit letters to approve or not obstruct this barn building. I think it'll improve both my lot, which is number 4, because I do not have a garage, and number 2 is an existing orphan lot, which is unbuildable as it is by square footage, but it is certainly more useful as a garage. The more interesting questions I have, or interest for you people, I would believe, are what the building inspector brought forth is about distance between buildings. I'm not sure which buildings he's referring to, and the definition of accessory structures. Now, I'm not a zoning person, obviously, but I believe the code states that a principal building is anything that's not accessory, and there can only be one principal building on each lot. Now, there's 2 separate lots, which number 2 and number 4 I bought from 2 separate owners. But as I understand it, they may be considered. Go ahead,
Yeah,
sir.
you've mentioned that a couple of times now. You have one piece of property merged for zoning purposes.
I agree.
That's what we're considering, and it's a corner lot. And we'll get everything right for you. We'll figure out all the things you need.
Excellent.
Continue.
Okay, so wasn't my big issue, really. It was a matter of what I needed to show the board, particularly under the hardships and the need, because my lot 2 particularly is so narrow, I could not get a barn of this size. And it's not a big barn, it's just enough to be a garage for one of my older cars. The car length is almost 20 feet, and at 24 feet, there's no way I can get it on my lot number 2 without some variance relief. The other question I have was brought up, I guess, is what is the definition of an accessory building? And I'm not clear whether an accessory building or a principal building is determined by size or usage. And it seems that the barn is just going to be a garage. That's its only function. that would be under your codes and normal accessory use, even though it is by square footage larger than my house. My house is only 700 and some square feet. So any garage or any building actually would be bigger than my house. So I believe the board needs to give me permission to make my house still be principal and the garage or barn to be an accessory use. And I need a permit from your board to do that. And I don't think there's any much more than that, because as you indicated, the merger issue takes care of the lots, and I have no problem with that. And the distance between buildings, as I mentioned, unclear to me which buildings might be impacted. As shown on my plans, the barn garage would be 27 feet from my house. And I understand the rules are that it has to be at least 20. So that would seem like I'm conforming, but I guess that is going to be a determination to be made by you. So there's where I stand. I'd like to hear your questions.
Okay, so the other, just for clarity, so the definition of an accessory building of use is a building of use customarily incidental to and located on the same lot with the principal building or use, except that if more than 30% of the floor area or 50% of the lot area is occupied by such use, it shall no longer be considered accessory. So you're bigger than your house, actually. So you're more than 100%, which means it's not it can't be an accessory building, which would tell you, no, you can't do this. But you can come to us and ask us for a variance from the definition, which would allow it to be called, if we approve it, would allow it to be called an accessory building. The thing that I'm questioning also, and I'll look for the boards to see what they think, is the application doesn't talk about the height. So if we allow it to be an accessory building, it can only be 12 feet tall and would need a height variance to go to the 21'7" that you're asking for.
Well, actually, can I, not to interrupt you, sir?
No, go ahead.
Really, the barn is only 22 feet tall.
Right.
And in talking with both the surveyor and the building department, I was told you can't get more than 30 feet, which I do not want. And I believe my house is already at 31 feet. So it's really going to be shorter than, or tall, shorter than the house. So
No, I
and I
get
would
that.
ask- go ahead,
But
sir.
the accessory building can only go up to 30 if it meets all these setbacks. That would mean you weren't asking us for any variances. Then it could go up to 30 feet by right. But since it's, you need variances to place it, I think we also should, in an abundance of caution, if the members want to approve this, is grant you a height exception also, just to protect you.
I would appreciate that. And I understand why you would say that. And yes, that would be my hope.
Okay, are you done with your presentation so far?
Yes, sir. I don't have, I mean, that's the 4 issues that I saw. I don't think there's any more I could add because I'm not that technical, but yes, sir, I'm pretty much
Thank you.
done.
Any board members have further questions of the applicant at this point?
Joe, I just had a question. So if the building is deemed larger than his home, which his home is considered a principal structure, is that correct?
Yes.
So now if this accessory structure is now, would it be considered a principal structure?
Well,
No.
we're gonna, the variance on the definition would allow it to be, even though it's bigger, to be considered an accessory structure. So that's why they're asking for a variance on the definition.
If it was a principal structure, he wouldn't need any relief for height, right? Or am I just getting too confused?
You'd have to go back, it would revert back to the other house, whether that was compliant. But his
Okay,
principal dwelling is where he lives.
Okay.
Stay that.
So I have a question. I'm not sure, I guess, what the hardship is necessarily. Just the size of the
Any
lot?
other questions by the board?
Yeah, can you hear me, Mr. Chairman? Apparently not.
Bill seems to froze.
But yeah, I can hear you. It's weird.
Can you hear me?
Yes, now I can. Yep.
Okay, so I guess I'm just struggling with what the hardship is. Is it just the width of the lot?
If I could interject, it's multiple of different things. One, I have an antique car collection and an old motorcycle and some other functions I do. And in a house that's on 700 square feet, I just don't have no room to do anything.
Okay, Mr. Warren, you
Please.
could hold back.
Sure.
Because those don't, the hardship we're trying to determine is, there has to be a hardship related to the property. Not that you want to fix a motorcycle.
Okay,
Okay, so we'll try to figure that out. Adria, sorry. So the lot width is creating the need for the variance on the frontage. I almost
Okay.
think maybe we could say that, I mean, that is one hardship. It doesn't mean he has to build it that wide either. See, so it's a
Right.
self-created
It's a
hardship.
self-created hardship, it appears.
I
Was
get you.
there something about the trees, sequoia trees that were in the way? I remember reading in the application that made it part of hardship. Something about the removal of them and building them nearby would have. I remember
I-
reading that.
We could, I mean, I think you might also be able to say, well, because he's obviously trying to maintain his proper setback from Langford Street,
Right.
is pushing the barn to the narrow part of the lot, which is creating the need for the variance, which is also creating the need for the buildings too close together.
Right.
You know,
Okay.
I think
Okay.
to be honest, I mean, I know we need to come up with that to do it right.
Yeah, I
think
mean,
like-
I don't, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No,
I don't
mean,
have a problem with the application. I just have to make a
wanna-
motion and
wanna
I'm,
Find a way to at some
Yeah.
point, make a motion. I got you.
exactly.
Well, why don't we hear some testimony and then we can drill into that a little bit more.
Okay.
Is
Thank
there
you.
anyone in the audience that wish to speak in favor of the application? Please raise your hand. Anyone wishing to speak in favor? We see none. Anyone in opposition to the application? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Please raise your hand. Again, I see none, so there's no need for rebuttal. And we'll need some discussion by the board so that we can kind of figure out how what we can apply here. Anybody with a good idea out there?
I mean,
I think you're onto something earlier about staying away from Langford Street.
yeah, I mean, I guess it's a corner lot too, that complicates things.
Yeah,
Really,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
Well, yeah, the corner lot could be part of the hardship in that he has to deal with two front yards, whereas he's complying on Langsford, but having to comply on Bayfield is what's pushing him into the variance mode.
Right,
Pulling back is pushing him close to the house. The lot, the narrow lot is limiting. And he's not asking for an unreasonable building. It's
No.
normal width. It is, it's longer, but it's no bigger than any barn would be. And certainly is going to be a good accessory use. So if everyone
I think,
thinks we can get the hardships that way.
I think I would agree with the chairman. The two things I see to make this is tough lot is that it's a corner lot. So he has two frontage he has to comply with. It's also a narrow lot. If he was to comply with the setbacks, he'd be limited to less than 20 feet width on this building, which is very narrow for a barn type structure that he's looking for. So I think those two would give you a good argument as to the topography, the shape of the lot is creating a hardship.
thank you, everybody.
So if there's no further discussion, we can move to a motion.
All right. Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion in the matter of the petition for Randall Warren seeking variances for front yard, side yard, distance between buildings, and also the definition of an accessory structure to allow for the construction of a new detached storage barn at 24 by 42 feet at 4 Bayfield Road.
Would you include the height exception for the
Oh.
accessory building?
Yeah, as a special permit. right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect, thank you. And also included in that motion, I would add the special permit to, for the height exception. And so I would argue that strict enforcement of the zoning ordinance would cause a hardship to the petitioner. And the hardship would be due to the width of the lot, the narrowness of the lot, and the fact that it is a corner lot, having to comply with 2 front yard setbacks, which pushes it farther away from Bayfield to be in compliance with Langsford, but then also pushes it closer to the primary structure, which is why the petitioner needs the relief requested. And additional, or no, sorry. And I think that the variances can be granted without substantial detriment to the public good and without undercutting the intent of the zoning ordinance. In terms of the special permit, I would argue that it is, oh, actually, what section? Oh, here we go. So the barn height would be consistent with neighborhood character and not substantially detrimental to the neighborhood because of the obstruction of views or overshadowing of other properties, impairment of utilities, or any other adverse impacts. And in that respect, I would note that no one came out in opposition of this application, and the petitioner did get letters signed by several of the abutters in favor of this construction. So I would make a motion to approve the variances and the special permit.
Second that.
You second that, Peter?
Yeah.
Okay,
Second that.
2 motions, one for variances and one for special permit have been made and seconded. Roll call vote.
Mr. Gelati,
Yes for variances and special permit.
Ms. Pratt,
Yes, for all the relief requested.
Mr. Canavo,
Yes.
and Mr. Parisi.
I also vote yes for the reasons stated in the motion. We're pretty clear about the hardship. So that, Mr. Sanborn, if you'd stamp and sign those drawings for us on behalf of the board. And Mr. Warren, you heard our decision's favorable.
Please.
We need to draft a decision, get it signed and get it out to you, which you will then get instructions on how to register that. And we will attempt to do that as fast as we can. There is some time allowed, but we will do the best we can.
I understand, sir, and I may help you with the drafting if I can. Thank you.
Are you an attorney?
Used to be. I'm long retired.
If you were comfortable to submit a draft, we would then take it from there if that would help speed it up.
With a little, I see that I could look at some of your prior decisions and probably get close to that language and help that
Yeah.
along. We'll do that.
You get it started. You get it started off of one of our previous and fill in your stuff, and I'll go through it and we'll make the adjustments that need to be made for it. We
We'll do.
appreciate that.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I will do the follow-up, Allison, on that when he submits it.
Thank you.
Okay, I see, no, she left. But Attorney Sheedy's on. And your hand is raised. We can bring her in so she can hear what went on. We did continue 18 Trash Street to June 24th, 2021. That's what you wanted, Mina, correct?
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chairman. Unfortunately, I'm going to be away on the 24th of June, so I would ask for the continuance to July 8th, if that's possible.
Yeah, we can revote that. I have a question for you, though.
Sure.
Is the owner you list on the application, are they the owner of the property at this point?
They are.
So they did transfer already?
Yes, they did.
Okay, because I would have been in conflict and I didn't want to do it and I had a quorum.
Yep.
So that's fine.
No, they are the present owners of the property.
All right, great. So we would like to put a new motion in with regard to 18 Trash Street to continue not to 6/24, but to 7/8/21. Adria?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I would make the motion to withdraw my previous motion to continue the application for 18 Trask Street, excuse me, to June 24th. And I would substitute that with a motion to continue the application for 18 Trask Street to July 8th.
Second,
Made and seconded, roll call.
Mr. Canavo,
yes.
Mr. Gelati,
Yes.
Ms. Pratt,
Yes,
and Mr. Parisi.
Yes. So we're all set for July 8th.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Okay, so to remind everyone, next week's meeting on June 17th is going to be the hearings that were continued, that were unable to be heard on May 27th. And again, that's 68 High Pauples Road, 222 Main Street, 22 Riverside, 9 Haskell Court, and we have continued 1 Babson Court Realty Trust to that day also. And that will come up first, I guess, because it is officially continued, even though we moved the whole meeting, and we'll hear the Babson Court first. Everybody agrees with that? Any other business that needs to come before us? No, all righty. We'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
yes, Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
Second,
Motion made and seconded to adjourn. Roll call vote.
Ms. Pratt,
Yes.
Mr. Canavo,
yes.
Mr. Gelati,
Yes.
and Mr. Parisi.
Yes. See you all next week. Like I say, it shouldn't be, it's still another shorter agenda. Hopefully we'll be able to hear all the cases. And then again, on the 24th, we're looking at maybe 4 or 5. So it's looking good.
Thank
Yeah.
God.
Everybody,
Good night, everyone.
night.
Have a good
Good night,
night,
everyone.
everyone.
Good night.
All right.